Ladies, gentlemen, and miniatures of all ages, Grounded 2's early access has tons to do, and if you're one of the people absorbing all of its goodness, gobbling all up, you may well be at the point of Tier 2 resources, or maybe you're still using Tier 1 stuff, but just wondering how to make that upgrade. Or hey, maybe you just want to know everything that's available and how to get it. No matter the wish, today we're going to talk all about every single Tier 2 resource that currently exists in Grounded 2's early access. We'll talk about where they come from, how to get them if there's any specific requirement, and if there's any particularly good spots to get a bunch of it that I know of, I'll mention those too. Before we begin properly though, if you are at the point of Tier 2 resources, then I will assume that you also have the resource scanner on your map, as that is unlocked about 2 to 3 hours into the story, depending on how much exploration and such you do. This makes it so any resource that you have analyzed can then just be tracked on your map, showing you a bunch of the different sources near you that can drop it. And this is just unbelievably helpful. As such, for the most part today, we'll be focused more on how to get the resource for the first time, and any complexities or good farming locations if they exist, because the resource finder can always point you to the location of anything once you have gotten it the first time to begin with. Preamble out of the way then, let's get down to business. The first Tier 2 resource worth discussing then is blueberries, or blueberry chunks, which come from blueberries, and you can turn these into blueberry leather, and this is the requirement to unlock your first Tier 2 tool, the Tier 2 axe. So basically, this is the turning point of Tier 1 into Tier 2. Blueberries are found mainly in the picnic table itself, under the tablecloth that's on the very top. There is an area with a fully grown Orb Weaver and some smaller spiders as well, but just a buttload of blueberries that you can break open and pick up. One of the only other spots then is right over here by the edge of the map near the spot between the statue and the ceremony, though most of the blueberries that you'll be able to find are on the picnic table itself. Once you have blueberries then, you can get the Tier 2 axe, and once you have the Tier 2 axe, we can talk about Lingonberries. These are what you need to unlock the Tier 2 bust function of the Omni tool, and so this is the next big important upgrade to enter Tier 2. These are located all along this hedge on the sort of northern side of the snack bar, the Billy Dog hot dog stand, all the way along. If you just look up, you will see them there. I'd show you on the resource scanner, but when I selected on the resource scanner, it actually does not show the hedge, and they are, again, just all over the hedge. So go to the hedge, shoot them down from above, break them down however you have to, chop them open, and then get the goodies inside. Next up is web fiber. You probably already have some of this because it's really just all over the place, but it's technically a Tier 2 material, probably because it's associated with Orb Weavers. You can get web fiber even from just the little spiderling enemies or from the natural web traps all across the park. If you break them open, web fiber will fall onto the floor or just go right into your inventory. Unstable goo is one of the few things that you can't actually track with the resource scanner, and that's because it comes from specifically orc weevils, the weevils that have the orc receivers on top of them. A good spot to farm a bunch of these is on the picnic table. On the initial ascent up the picnic table blanket, you will find a bunch of the orc weevils, and you can destroy them and get the goo from them. On that note, orc receivers in general are a potential drop from any orc controlled enemy in the game. Gum nuggets require Tier 2 bust, and you can find them generally on any table or around any table, and there are a couple right next to each other on the lunchbox in the southeast section of the current playable area as well, right over here if you want to go that far, then they're guaranteed to be there. Crow feather pieces come from chopping up crow feathers that you can find just around the park in general, and there is a couple just guaranteed right around this frisbee that you can sort of see on your map under the tree. This is where you can get a nice early location for them, so you can put them into your resource scanner and find more later on. For mushroom and toadstool chunks specifically, you need to use your Tier 2 chop on the larger mushrooms in the world. Toadstools are the red and white giant mushrooms specifically, and regular mushroom chunks are every other larger mushroom in the game. For pine needles, you need access to Tier 2 chop, and these are scattered on the ground anywhere near pine trees. There's a couple of pine trees and pine hills, and the actual pine needles extend all the way out to the very edge of Snack Bar Front. There's also a pine tree in the ceremony area, which means that there's pine needles all around this area as well. Then pollen is actually an easy one once you know where it is. Look up at the plants around you and you want to find dandelions. Some dandelions have a yellowish green stem, and these are the ones with a full dandelion tuft sticking out the top, but what you want are the ones that are just much greener on the stem. These have the yellow dandelion flower on top instead, and if you cut those ones down, they will drop you pollen for you to pick up. Milkweed tufts are found inside of milkweed pods, which require Tier 2 chop. These pods are all over the ground near the stumps connected by a rope that goes all the way along between the snack bar front and the picnic table itself. It also cordons off grass games, but this entire stretch around here, if you look around the ground near the stumps, you will find these little milkweed pods. Open them up and you'll get what you're after. Next up, we've got hot and cold materials. The EverChar chunks require Tier 2 bust and come from the glowing coals in the fire pit area on your map. The ice splinters, the easy way that you can get them, them is from the frosted grass, which is around the tipped over ice cream cart in the southeast, and you can just chop this down and they will drop little bits of icicles as well. If you have tier 2 bust, you can break them down from full icicle chunks, which you can most easily find at first in the cooler that is on the bench of the picnic table, the way that you actually get up the picnic table, they're all over inside of that, or otherwise just in the ice cream cart itself too. Then we've got some just sort of regular bits of food, and these are generally either just left on the ground or oftentimes they've been brought through the anthills as well. But to make this just a little bit easier to get your first ones into the resource scanner, Billy Hog hot dogs are all around the place on the ground near the Billy Hog hot dog stand. You need tier 2 chop, and then you can break through them to get the good bits out. There's also donuts that you can pop open for donut chunks. Again, you can find one donut on top of the table that is attached to the Billy Hog hot dog stand, and there's also half of the donut on the floor falling off of the table if you want to grab it there too. Apples are also on the ground in various places. Here's a spot for one near the starting area. Again, tier 2 chop to break through it, and you can get the fresh bits inside. Cookie sandwich bits, again, various places, but an easy one is on top of the picnic table, under the tablecloth, around where you got the blueberries earlier. In the back corner of the same area, there are cookie sandwich chunks that you can bust open for the bits themselves. Once you can handle cold areas, however, there are actually a lot of cookie sandwiches to bust open in the ice cream cart in the southeast. There's also a bunch of mints in here, and there's also chocolate chunks, which you bust out from the chocolate chips on the mint chocolate chip ice cream within the cart, which is fun too. But the ice cream cart is definitely a later game area, I would say. There's also sturdy marble as an enhanced upgrade material for your armor, and there are a few places to find this. The easiest one in my opinion just to get it into your scanner is over here all the way to the east on your map. There's a hole to get under the roots of this tree and an Orb Weaver who lives inside. This is actually one of the places where you can find Orb Weaver eggs, though it's worth noting that you cannot hatch an Orb Weaver egg until you completed the amount of story that we currently have anyways, but in the back of this area there is also a big chunk of sturdy marble that you can pop open with tier 2 bust. Then for sturdy quartzite, the enhanced upgrade material for weapons. Again, you can find this in multiple places, but one to get you started off easy is right in the fire pit. Literally at the bottom of the fire pit, you can just find a big chunk of this to break open. As for mint shards, you can get these with tier 2 bust on any mints that you find. There is a mint in the anthill that you go to for the first soldier ant egg. There's also some mints on top of the table that's attached to the Billy Hog stand as well in a whole mint container, but generally these are quite easy to find. For spicy shards, it's basically the same thing, tier 2 bust, but on spicy candy specifically. You can easily find a container of these right here on your map near the Billy Hog hot dog stand very, very early. Gives you a full spicy candy, get you some shards once you have the actual ability to bust them open. As for the spicy glob and mint glob, those are very, very rare, unique materials at this stage of early access that, to my knowledge, only exist in one location each at this point. So this is essentially a specific exploration reward as a warning before we proceed to just directly showing you where they actually are, and then you can skip to the time on screen if you want to find these for yourself. That out of the way then, the spicy globs are in a chest under the southern pine tree in Pine Hills. Specifically, you have to go all the way up to the roots of the tree and then drop down into the root structure from the trunk itself to access this chest. You do need the sizzling key to open the chest, which is an unlock from the end of Act 1 of the story missions. As for the mint globs, I've honestly not fully worked that one out myself yet, as these videos are all being made pre-release of early access, just from the information Josh and I got while playing, but my current running theory is that they are in these fancy chests that you can dig up at the top of the ice cream cart. This room is important for other reasons too, so just for the sake of it, in the ice cream cart, go up as much as possible until you enter the room with a frozen fan. Break the icicles on the fan, and the fan will start to spin a little bit, which actually opens up a tunnel that you can go into under where the fan blades were before, and you can follow this to a big room with some really cool looking weapons stuck in the ice. And the backside of this room is a gleam in the ice that you can dig up if you have a tier 2 shovel, and here is the chest that needs a frostbitten key. I haven't found the key to open this yet, and I'm unsure if it's around, but I imagine this is where the mint globs will come from, as this is sort of the counterpart to the sizzling key chest. This is a thing, this chest matters, this room matters regardless of the chest, so check for a pinned comment below the video if we find out more about mint globs specifically, on which note, I also haven't been able to find salty shards either, despite them being on the resource list in creative mode, so I'll let you know in the comments if I find that too. Then the rest of these are all materials from actual specific insects or enemies in general, so it's simplest to just show you the resource scanner locations at nighttime. Well, most of them are asleep, to show you some locations for each one, and then once again, once you have your own first materials from them, you can use your own resource scanner and see live locations in your own game on your own save. Stinkbugs, of course, and here's where they are on my scanner at night. Ladybug materials come from ladybugs. These are very common in the starting area and very fightable to get yourself a really strong shield early on if you didn't already know about it. Bees are a little bit less of a common enemy in Grounded 2. They mostly exist on and around the picnic table itself, with one usually sleeping on top of the actual cooler here that you walk through to get up to the top of the table, or there's also a couple of bees that like to hang out around this skateboard over here in the grass games area. Bombardier Beetle parts come from Bombardier Beetles, and they can actually also drop a rare trinket at random that's pretty cool too. Here's where are the Bombardier Beetles currently on my scanner at nighttime. Orb Weaver bits come from Orb Weavers themselves, of course, but the Orb Weaver fangs specifically only come from the fully grown Orb Weavers. So here is where the Orb Weaver parts are in general on my scanner, and here is where specifically the fangs are for the fully grown Orb Weavers. Mosquitoes like to hang out around any sort of small bodies of water generally, but there are also a couple of them that live on top of the table that's attached to the Billy Dog hot dog stand to get your first materials, and here is where just they are on my scanner in general. The Northern Scorpion chunks, of course, come from Scorplings, Northern Scorpion Juniors, and the fully grown Northern Scorpion, but the Stinger, the Pincer, and the Venom specifically only come from the fully grown ones, I believe, so here is where all of those things are on my scanner as well, so you can track them down for yourself. Butterflies you will have to generally get attention from with a ranged weapon to start off with, and are a much easier fight with ranged weapons in general, but here's where they're located on my scanner to find your first ones. They generally like to hang out either on the flowers that are near the picnic table over here, or down to the tree in the southwest of the park. Cockroaches are a pretty common enemy you can find in that first very starting area at least, and they have some useful bits they drop. The cockroach nymphs can drop the parts, but the cockroach head only comes from the full big cockroaches, and still only sometimes. Here they are on the scanner, nice and simple pretty much. Then finally we've got caterpillar materials like the caterpillar goop and the spine nubs, and these of course come from caterpillars themselves, which are a little bit less of a common thing to find. One of them had a dedicated spawn point on the root of the southwestern tree in the park that's really easy to find. It just spawns there and then sits there forever. If you kill it, it comes back in a few days, nice and easy. But again, once you have killed any caterpillars and analyzed their materials to begin with, it's very easy to then just ping them on the resource analyzer and find them pretty much anywhere near where you are at that moment. And that does it for today then everyone. Every single tier 2 resource in Grounded 2, how to get it, where to find it, and any specific farm spots that I'm aware of to make them a little bit easier too. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and hopefully it helps you out in your progress through the game, especially as there are only a few rare things that count as tier 3, so we've now talked about every resource up until that point. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.